horror fans, welcome back to 0237, back with another review. And this might be kind of a random video, but this is of a film that I was actually surprised that I have not done yet. I could have swore I have. But it's from a director who I really like. He's still kind of a newcomer. 3 films in less than 10 years. Less than the last 10 years. I've done his first film, and I recently reviewed his newest film that just kind of recently came out. But I had not done his sophomore film, and it is one that I like. But it's been a while since I've seen it, so I rewatched it, and so I'll review it. And that is Jordan Peele, and it is his second film from 2019, Us. Now, this was not a film that I saw when it first came out. I think I saw this for the first time sometime last year. I'd kind of heard about it. Of course, I had seen the trailers, which were awesome. But I just never got around to seeing it. And it's one that it does have all the hallmarks of a Jordan Peele film so far. I mean, he's only made 3 films, but you can already tell that it's a Jordan Peele film. You can already come up with some tropes or some signatures, whether it be his directing style or especially his writing. But this is another that I really enjoy, and I'm kind of struggling on how I feel with it compared to Nope. I will say that this is a better horror film. I don't think Nope was supposed to be that forward of a horror film. However, I will agree with many people that its ideas kind of gets ahead of itself, whereas Nope was definitely more ambitious, more visual, and even though it still has some a metaphor and allegory, it is pretty straightforward. I have reviewed Nope, so you can go check that out. But this does follow Get Out, which it does kind of have this Twilight Zone-esque kind of feel and story, and I know a lot of people were kind of thinking, is he going to be the new Shyamalan? I hope not, but I think Nope kind of subverted those expectations. However, this seems to be a very polarizing film. People either really get behind the themes and messages and the metaphors of the film, despite some of the conveniences or holes that are left behind. And then there are people that's all they see. All they see are conveniences and unexplained plot holes, and also just people that you can even find videos on YouTube. People that don't like smart movies. God forbid they have to think. God forbid they have to think a little bit. But anyway, so yeah, written, directed by Jordan Peele, stars Lupita Nyong'o, who is fantastic as both Adelaide and Red. Also stars Winston Duke, Elizabeth Moss, who I think is fantastic, especially in 2019's The Invisible Man, and Tim Heidecker of Tim and Eric. Michael Abels comes back for the music, who did the music in Get Out, and the music is phenomenal in this. And yes, this is a Blumhouse film. I will say, Blumhouse films that are like done by an auteur, I think we can call Jordan Peele an auteur at this point. Those are ones that usually are the best. It doesn't feel like a Blumhouse production. It just feels like a very well-made film by a talented director that happened to be put out by Blumhouse. Now, the story at first glance is about this family, mother, father, daughter, young son, going on a vacation to Santa Cruz, where they are invaded by this family that appears to be their doppelgangers. That's really kind of, I think that's how it sold itself, and it worked. I mean, it was made on a modest $20 million budget. It grossed like $255 million, so it was a pretty sizable hit. But there is a lot more to it than that, and where this is still kind of newer, I mean, it's only 3 years old, this will be a spoiler a review, so if you haven't seen Us yet, it is one that I recommend. If you liked Get Out, if you liked Nope, uh, I really do think that you'll like this. Now, in the hyperbolic world of the internet, yes, this is not as good as Get Out, which, with how hyperbolic the internet is, if it's not as good, that means it's garbage or a dumpster fire. There is no second best. There is no, 100. There is no 90, 80, 70%. It's either 100 or 0, which is really sad and pathetic. Yeah, it's not as good or as well executed in its story or what it's trying to say, but everything else is pretty damn well made. It is very well directed, well written. You know, even take all the conveniences that people can come up with. All of that aside, it's still a well written film. I mean, one thing I really noticed with this on this second watch that I haven't really noticed before, it really made me think of Nope as well, is that Jordan Peele is excellent at foreshadowing, showing this little tiny detail of something that comes into play later. Small example, uh, the closet door needing something to stop it or else it'll shut, you can't open it from the inside. Something small like that at the beginning of the film comes back later. This movie is full of that. Uh, it does have a lot of a metaphor and allegory. Definitely on a bigger scale than Get Out, but in a more surreal, more kind of less obvious way than Get Out. Get Out was pretty flawless all the way through, across the board. I'm not going to keep comparing it to Get Out, but I see what Jordan Peele was going for. I do think it works. But yeah, there are some things where the first time I watched it, I was like, well, that doesn't make sense, or this doesn't make sense. But it upon second watch, the I really hate to say willing suspension of disbelief, but if people can watch a movie like, if people can watch Harry Potter or the Fast and Furious movies and get behind those, I think people can forgive the idea that there's this population of doppelgangers that somehow all got matching jumpsuits. They all live underground, yet they were able to get matching jumpsuits that fit perfectly. I think there's just a lot of those just because. If this was made 40, 50 years ago, because it does have kind of a sci-fi, tiny little sci-fi aspect, it wouldn't have just been considered just because, and people would have looked at just the messages. Now people need a bullet point exposition, or else either they don't like it or it's not explained, so it's bad. But I really do recommend this. Jordan Peele does a great job at directing. Whenever there's supposed to be a scare on screen, it looks great. Uh, Also, scenes with music is very well. It does have a soundtrack, but specifically the score, very well put together, orchestrated, both with the music and how it syncs up with what's on the screen. Especially the climax with like the ballet, how the music just keeps building. Perfect. It does have some comedy. I mean, the dad in this, he's kind of a sitcom dad. I thought that worked. He wasn't as maybe over the top funny as the friend in Get Out, but still had some. The humor's a bit more dry in this, a bit more dad jokey. They do feel kind of like the sitcom picture perfect family, which I think Peele was going for. There's even what I call a Brian De Palma shot, which is up close to someone's face. You can kind of see the focus, out of focus around their head, but then someone in the background is in focus. I can't remember exactly what that's called. I know out of the whole review that that's something someone will touch on in the comments. Um, I really can't praise his directing enough. I mean, scenes like this where it's just he really knows what looks good. He knows how to frame a shot. Uh, a lot of the scares are more just things that are supposed to be unnerving, like the way the young son doppelganger kind of. Actually, a lot of them do this. Crawl around on all fours. Sometimes the video's even sped up to make them look fast. Or the way I always mispronounce her name. Lupita Nyong'o, who is fantastic. I mean, she was as good as the lead in Get Out, uh, but it definitely had more to do as an actress because she's played two very, very different people, kind of. Two different types of people, I should say. But all the acting is absolutely great. But also just some of the noises she makes, like how she communicates with the other doppelgangers, like either these grunts or like these clicks and ticks. Like, it's a lot louder when she does it, but very creepy, or just the kind of stuff we see in the trailer. It really knows how to make he knows how to make things unnerving, and it's just very well made. I mean, even with the opening credits, just up close of a rabbit's eye, and it just keeps pulling back to show this wall of cages of rabbits. It's kind of like the reverse of the final shot for The Shining, which is like this crazy zoom. This is like a crazy pullback, but very well directed. Uh, it the suspense is very well done as well, and I just really enjoyed this film. The only thing is, I would say some of the ideas, some of the twists don't work as well as Get Out. Now, I don't have as many of the same problems that other people have. I kind of find a way around them that makes it work for me. I'm not as picky with these holes or conveniences, but uh, I guess I can kind of see why people would think that. But for me, it's just more of, if people can watch Harry Potter and suspend their disbelief like that, or something like the Fast and Furious movies, why can't they just accept something, some of the conveniences in this? But I thought it was a very good movie, so since it is newer, I'm going to get to spoilers. So, I mean, and some people will say that they figured out the. Because I notice in the comment section of a lot of movies, especially with twists, people like to get there first and say how soon they solved the twist. Like, if someone says, as soon as this happened, I knew right away what the twist was. And then someone will come in and be like, as soon as the warning, do not copyright this movie pops up, I knew exactly how it was going to end. It's like, really? And upon second watch, yeah, there are hints, there are clues to the final twist of the movie. I'll say I didn't see it coming, but the whole idea of the film is, well, one, us, deals with us, the American people, but also United States. And the whole metaphor for the people underground, I should explain what that is. Apparently, at some point in history, there was this experiment to clone the American population. Apparently, this is only in America. Well, it opens up with a text that says, underneath the country, there's a ton of unused tunnels, subways, service tunnels, abandoned mines, some that don't even have any purpose. They're all forgotten about. And there was some sort of experiment to clone the American population, but also to control them. So someone down below, whatever they do, the people on the surface, that's what they'll do. It went wrong, and the people down below could only sort of somewhat mimic the movements and actions and lifestyles of the people on the surface. And the people down below were called the tethered, because they are tethered to people on the surface. Because like whatever they do, they end up doing. Opens up with, you know, the young version of Adelaide in 1986 going into this house of mirrors. She sees all these mirrors, but then she looks at this one where it's the back of her head, slowly turns around to reveal her with a creepy smile. We get the... And then the movie begins. But it... So the... Oh, and then all these... The tether was forgotten when the experiment was abandoned, and they were just left. They weren't executed or liquidated, or they were just left to fend for themselves, which left them to just eat these rabbits. Which I thought, where are all these rabbits coming from? Like, how do they keep a steady supply of rabbits for everybody? That's really the only thing I was asking. But I guess it would make sense the most. Rabbits, they breed like crazy. But obviously, these tethered are supposed to represent the marginalized, the forgotten, the voiceless people within our own society, because they can't speak. They only have grunts and clicks and screams. I mean, at one point, the doppelganger of the father character, he kind of reminded me of, is his name Big Al or Big Daddy from Land of the Dead? Just the way he does the oh, really kind of reminded me of him. So yeah, they're supposed to represent the voiceless, the forgotten, the discarded, the marginalized. And now there's going to be a revolt. They all have their matching red jumpsuits, one leather glove, and a pair of scissors. Yes, I know these look different, but it's the closest I had. Now, the symbolism of the scissors is, duality, and, it's their weapon of choice, but also meant to sever the tether. At least that's what I got from it. Also, and the whole thing with the jumpsuits, like people say, if they're down there, how do they get jumpsuits? How do they get tailor-made jumpsuits for everybody? I did hear one thing, that maybe these red suits were just left behind. Maybe when the clones were made, that's what was given to them by the facility. That makes logical sense to me, but then again, that's just nothing I'm thinking about. The thing about this movie, and I probably should have said this before spoilers, a lot of movies with, that are really built on a metaphor or an allegory or themes and symbolism are not supposed to be taken literally. This is not supposed to watch like a movie like, okay, this is literally happening. It's not supposed to be taken literally or clinically. You're just supposed to look at the message. And I know a lot of people, when they watch movies like this, they say things like, it's trying to be smarter than everybody else. It thinks it's so deep and so intelligent. Like, why? Why is that bad? I mean, coming from a guy whose favorite modern company for modern horror films is A24. That's pretty much what they do. And I know a lot of people have problems with A24. They think movies with allegory and themes and symbolism, sorry, that it's pretentious or full of itself or self-indulgent. I mean, God forbid a movie isn't just mindless popcorn fun. I like a movie that kind of makes you think. And it really seems like the people that really don't like those kinds of movies are ones that maybe might get mad that there's stuff that's not explained or they didn't get the twist. Maybe they feel like, oh, well, the movie thinks it's smarter than me. I don't know. This is me going off on a tangent. Um, there's a lot more I wanted to say. Now I'm trying to remember it. Uh, so yeah, they represent the marginalized, and then there's just, but then along with the revolt, them going up to kill their doppelganger and live on the surface, is sort of the dual part of that, which is just the pursuit of happiness, the pursuit of the American dream that we all have, that we're all trying to live, and maybe how some people take that life for granted. I mean, the characters of uh, Elizabeth Moss and Tim Heidecker, their family just they're not happy. They're not happy with anything they have. They're just an unhappy family. Yet these tether are supposed to represent the people that can't achieve that or can't have that and would love to have that. There's also the recurring theme or image of the number 11. There's the homeless guy with Jeremiah 11:11, which essentially is like a "you're doomed" kind of verse, but 11 appears a number of times. Like 11:11 appears on the clock. It's the football score that the dad's listening to. The news channel when it shows the tethered, you know, on like a nationwide scale. Which also, what they're trying to do is there's the image of them after they kill their doppelgangers. They all link hands in a line across America. Kind of to mirror the Hands Across America, which was in 1986 when this movie opens up. Which, another little side detail that just shows how acute Jordan Peele's attention to detail is. I think I said detail one too many times in that sentence. Uh, Apparently, the Hands Across America charity event was only 15 minutes long, which, when Adelaide goes missing from her parents, she was gone for 15 minutes. And she was wearing a Hands Across America shirt. And then some people have wondered, because the final twist is, after the doppelganger family is defeated and the Prime family is driving away, we get flashbacks that Red was actually the real surface Adelaide. She was a young girl at the House of Mirrors. Her tethered choked her, knocked her out, dragged her down, cuffed her to a bed, went up to the surface, and lived her life. And so then the surface one living down below, she was a talented dancer. Her dancing, I guess, captivated everyone, and they all decided to follow her. And she was wearing a Hands Across America shirt, and that was kind of the inspiration to, take what's ours. Also, there's the whole thing about how, because when Red speaks, it's very like this. And people say, what, did she forget how to speak? It's a mixture of one, when she was choked, her larynx was fucked up, and not really speaking to anybody for 30 years. Your voice will get worn out or lost. And it shows that she might have gone a little crazy. Also, when tethered Adelaide went to the surface to live, she had to learn how to speak. It People say, well, what her parents notice? Well, yes, they thought something traumatic happened, made so she couldn't speak, so she had to relearn. Also, if she can learn how to speak, how come the rest of the tethered can't speak? I don't think a young child that's traumatized is going to think, teach everyone to speak. Also, there's just some things that it's so minor that if you're going to let that detail kind of like ruin the film or ruin the whole message, that because I know a lot of people would be like, well, they need to make a prequel so we know where the jumpsuits came from, or so we know, why did she teach them to speak? And just, you know, a lot of modern audiences just need like bullet point exposition, spoon fed every detail, or else, it's bad writing, or it's a bad movie, or we need a prequel to explain it, and I don't understand it. There are some movies where you do gotta think a little bit, or just some things don't need to be explained. It's just because. Like for me, the red jumpsuits, maybe they were already down there. Maybe that's just what the clones wear. Or initially wore when it was still a government experiment. Which also might have something to say about, corrupt government trying to control people. Some of the ideas are as obvious as Get Out, but the way they're presented aren't quite as obvious as in Get Out. And then there's the final twist, I guess, which is, as it's revealed to us that Adelaide was actually the original tether. She looks over at the son, who is looking at her. She gives a smile and raises the question, does he know? And if so, how? I think that's just better left unanswered. I think that as an open-ended ending is perfectly fine. I don't even think about it. And also some people have asked, like, how can some people control their tethered? Because the only one that really shows any kind of ability to control the tethered is the young son. When there's that trap with the car and the explosion, and the son just kind of walks backwards, and then his tether walks backwards into the flames and dies. I don't know. If you want to call that a convenience, I guess, but it's not out of nowhere. Because at one point, both the sons were in a closet, and they're both just kind of mirroring each other. The tethered is doing what the son Jason is doing. But why can't the rest of them do that? I don't know. And if they could do that the whole time, well, actually, that would raise a question, because then how would you make them stop? Would you just stand there forever so that they can't move? I don't know. Stab yourself so they stab themselves, they win anyway. But I say with that final twist, it does ultimately mean we've been rooting for the villain the whole time. She defeats the perceived villain, who's actually the good guy, essentially. And not only has the sort of tethered Hands Across America, it alludes to that it's a success, but it's even more a success because the original tether of Adelaide is still alive. And some people have talked about, like, a memory. I can't remember if people said, because Red obviously did not lose any memory. That's why she's doing all this. I don't think the fake Adelaide that's living her life on the surface had any kind of memory loss, I think she's just doing a very good job at hiding it. And yeah, there are hints showing the twist. Like when she tells Elizabeth Moss that she's not good at talking. But I'm sure there's a lot more to talk about. But I've already been going on for a half hour. To me, I do think it's well written. I would say, yeah, there might be some holes. There might be some conveniences. I don't let those ruin the movie for me. There are kind of ways around them, like how is there a constant supply of rabbits? They're always breeding. Jumpsuits. Maybe they were just left there by the government. Well, how do they all fit perfectly? Just because. There's some things that, and plus all these details are so acute compared to the story at large and the scale of the story that I don't really see a bother in letting that get in the way of everything. I definitely see what they're going for with the part of our society, the part of our population that is marginalized, discarded, forgotten, the voiceless. I do think it does a decent job at portraying all that and the pursuit of the American dream. I mean, we all want that. Some people take it for granted, where some people can't have it and they'll do anything to get it. I think that's the ultimate meaning of the film. But also, obviously, how someone's own worst enemy or greatest danger can be ourselves. And yeah, I don't get why a lot of modern audiences are so repelled by movies that yeah, I don't even like saying the phrase "try to be smart." I just that try to be a little deeper, that try to you know do something a little thought provoking. That seems to be a nail in the coffin for a lot of audiences. That's why a lot of people don't like A24. They don't want to go into a movie and try to decipher metaphors or try to feel something or try to think deeply about something. They don't want to think about the symbolism. And also, a lot of these movies, they do make you do the work a lot of the times, and people don't like to do that. They don't. I totally get why someone might want to go into a movie, shut their brain off, and just have mindless entertainment. I love slasher films, but I definitely commend films that do want to be thought-provoking, that do want to actually come up with an allegory, tell a story that way. And plus, another reason why I'm able to suspend my disbelief for a lot of the reasons people have issues with this is because it is kind of supposed to have that Twilight Zone-y type of twist where it is kind of surreal. It is kind of otherworldly. How could this possibly happen? It won't, at least in the way this is portrayed. That it can kind of get extraordinary. But I'm just going to start rambling at this point. So, Us, definitely not as good as Peele's first film, Get Out, but it's still a very solid movie, especially in the acting and the directing, and the score. I'd say those are the three best qualities of it. It is well written, still very well written. I can see some of the holes and conveniences that people have. To me, it doesn't ruin it. And I don't think it's as bad or frustrating as some people make it out to be. So now I've reviewed all three of Jordan Peele's films, and I can say I really do enjoy all three. So, is Jordan Peele going to be the new Shyamalan? I really hope not. I think people are expecting twists and turns and metaphors in all his films. Nope, wasn't really that. It didn't really have a twist, but we'll have to see with the future. And Peele is going to be a director that, if I see the new film by Jordan Peele, I'll go to theaters to see it. I really respect this guy's work, and I do think he's very talented. So yeah, that is my review. Very long review for us, and thank you for watching.